Yeah, not a good night for our team. I felt like our energy was off. We looked like we were in quicksand. We looked tired all night, and I'll give a lot of credit to Penn State. I thought they did a tremendous job guarding us and making it hard on us. Um, and we just missed too many shots at the rim. Layups, free throws, and the turnover bug just killed us again. Just I think it was tied up there in the second half, kind of in the middle of the second half, and we came and had just three terrible turnovers in a row, just trying to do too much. Literally just driving, falling down, crazy stuff. And so, you're not going to beat anybody, doing some of those mistakes. And so, a lot of credit to Penn State. I thought they competed. They were quicker to the basketball on all the 50-50 plays, pretty much from the jump. And and then they just started driving, and we, I thought at times, we did a decent job guarding, and then, DeLeon and Mango, like they do what they do. Those are two really good guards, and I thought, in the last 10 minutes, their guards just dominated us. It started in the second half. They made a couple threes on some late closeouts and kind of got them going because I thought we jumped out to a really good start, and then they came and it was like 3-3, and then all of a sudden they were up 3 and right after we had taken the lead coming out of time at halftime. So, disappointing. We got to find a way to bounce back against a really good Minnesota team. It's going to be tough to beat on Saturday, but we're going to have to play a lot cleaner to beat anybody.
On the Tuesday, you talked about the late game execution. Iowa, UCLA, like those games are coming right there. Tonight it was like the same thing. 59-59, last 2 minutes. Just what is the difference with not being able to execute at the end?
Yeah, I mean we're getting good looks. We missed a couple layups, and then we missed a free throw. That would have tied the game too. We may have had a turnover too. I'm trying to remember all the possessions, but we actually got a couple good looks down there at the end. And then they got the big jump ball, on Zoom where he got in there and was trying to get the ball up on the rim, and their defender made a great play and just tied him up, on his one-on-one. You got to get that shot on the rim. And so it wasn't so much really the last 2 minutes, but there was that chunk in the middle of the second half where we were getting stops and we were coming down and just turning the ball over. And either it was turning the ball over or missing layups.
And what's the mood with the team right now? I mean, there was a whole lot sort of built for this
Yeah.
the season. These were kind of must-win games.
Yep.
How are they feeling right now?
Yeah, they're hurting in the locker room. They're hurting. I think, and they should be hurting. It was a game that, you have to win that game at home. You have to find a way to win that game at home. But we have to play smarter. We can't have, some of our best players playing like that. From an energy standpoint and a production standpoint. If you're going to win, they're guys. They made plays. We didn't tonight, and I'm not. I need to do a better job. Getting them, I guess, in different positions and spreading some shots around because some guys, when we're playing tired, we're taking too many shots. Are not clean shots. Our ball movement got stagnant a couple times, and but we gotta play better and we gotta play with some better pace.
What we saw from Zoom tonight, that's not the Zoom we've seen since he's been here. What was going on with Zoom tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of one of those games. It was just hard for him out there. It was, and I noticed he looked tired. Him and Hannes looked really tired. They just did. Defensively, I thought Zoom looked exhausted. He didn't do a very good job. Not even offensively. I didn't think he did a very good job defensively. Getting through screens and getting back in front of the ball, which put us in some bad spots on our switches. But he is young. It was just one of those games, man. He just didn't have that juice. I thought he kind of got it a little bit there in the last couple minutes of the first half, getting the ball to the rim. Even though he wasn't making it, but he was playing with a little more force. But yeah, just he'll bounce back.
Games like this are tough, and nobody wants to come and deal with us after a game like this.
Yeah.
And usually we get 2 guys. We got Omari. That was it. He came and faced him. What's that say about Omari?
Yeah, he's just, he's a senior. He's been through some hard losses. I I mean, it does. It says a lot about him. I know. I mean, he's hurting just like the other guys in the locker room. And it's been a hard day. For that group. We had two players have surgery today. One on their heart and one on their foot out in New York. And so, that stuff weighs on these young kids too. But like I said, I'm proud that Kamari came in and faced the music, and but at the end of the day on Saturday, like, we all got to face the music. Everybody's got to look in the mirror, and we got to own it. And starting with me, I got to be a lot better. I got to be better for this team.
That was the other thing I was going to ask you. JJ had the procedure done
Yeah.
today, and just see any update on either of those.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be out for the season. Yeah. I mean, the surgeries they both went well. I did hear that right before the game, and so.
And you said JJ went back to New York,
Yeah.
and as opposed to here.
Yeah, that's where like his doctor that he works with. Mm-hmm.
Over the past couple games, I think it was for Jacob, 5 minutes, and the last game, 3.5 minutes today. When he came back, it seemed like he could have been like a spark plug for you guys in a couple games where it was just hard to get him shots. Just kind of where is he at right now in your guys' rotation, and just how do you see that role going forward?
Yeah, I mean, we need him. We need him to come and knock down some shots, and we need him to defend and rebound. And like I said, it's sometimes it's just matchups. Like when they had the big, Uric kid. I hope I pronounce his name right. That's a good matchup for Frank. Because he is a big body down there, and so, But we have to find some more minutes, especially when guys aren't playing well. For him and Lathan.
And for Wesley, you mentioned kind of an energy night. It seemed like for him in that first half, it was he was looking for his shots out there. In the
Yeah.
second half, just didn't. After those first couple misses, just didn't seem to take as many. Do you attribute that to kind of how Penn State was marking him on the court, or just kind of how the game went?
Sorry, repeat that.
With Wesley in the second half,
Yeah.
Do you feel like his lack of shot opportunities compared to the first was just how Penn State was defending him, or just kind of the lack of energy?
A little bit like both. I think both. And we weren't getting stops and getting him out in transition and hitting him on some pitch aheads. We did on the very first play of the second half, and then after that was kind of one of our last pitch aheads. And so, and then they went zone too and kind of matched up differently with our guys. But at the end of the day, we got to, he had the ball a couple times too and had some of those turnovers that I was talking about, where we're just trying to do too much.
Is there kind of a mindset thing going into these games, especially when everyone feels like a must-win, that kind of gets the guys a little more tense going into the game, takes them a while to kind of get their feet underneath them just because of the pressure? Because I know a young team, right, a lot of these guys haven't really faced that pressure before. Do you think that's something that weighs on them before these games?
Maybe, but if you don't like pressure, don't play in the Big Ten. Like, you gotta want to compete. You gotta want that pressure. Like, we're the ones that put ourselves in that situation. And we're the only ones that can get ourselves out. But if anybody's feeling that, they should feel pressure. And then, as a Big Ten player on scholarship, you better be able to play. You should come and produce. Period. Or don't play at this level.
Coach, when we talked to you yesterday, you had some comments without trying to get fined, obviously. Today was another one where it kind of felt like those calls maybe just weren't going your guys' way. As a team, especially with a tough shooting night tonight, like, how do you guys go about trying to make your own luck when stuff like that is not falling your way?
I mean, that's what good teams do. You find a way. Like, you have to be able to play through some adversity. The refs weren't the issue tonight. They were not the issue tonight. There's always a couple calls here and there. But our energy was the issue tonight. Our intent and being really connected and fighting through that adversity, like, we didn't do that tonight. We didn't do it well enough to win.
To fall below 500 for the first time in the season, only 6 games left. What's the message for the team?
Yeah, we got to keep competing. Like, it ain't over. Like, we still have a lot to play for. We really do. And individually, collectively, like, as a team, as a program, for all the players that wore that jersey before us, like, we have to play harder, and we haven't done much in practice. Like, there's no reason for us to not have energy tonight. There's not. Even before, like last week, we couldn't really practice either because guys were banged up. But, you know, we've been back, you know, like I said, Penn State played on Sunday. You know, if anybody shouldn't have had energy, it was them. And they came out with some great energy tonight, and we didn't respond.
Coach, we saw Bryson go up the tunnel, wasn't able to return there in the second half. Is there any update you can give on him?
No, he banged up his thumb. I haven't gotten the update yet from the trainer.
Thank you, Coach.
You bet.